It's Tuesday, June 3rd, AD 2025. This is the World View in 5 minutes, written by Kevin Swanson and heard on 140 radio stations and at theworldview.com. I'm Adam McManus. An 8-year-old Indonesian boy in the Samarinda district was killed for his faith in Jesus on May 19th, reports International Christian Concern. Indonesia is an 87% Muslim country. The boy, publicly named as KB, was beaten to death by 5 older Muslim boys. Pastor Pete of the GPDI Sola Gracia Church, where the family worshiped, remembers him as a child who was, quote, diligent in Sunday school, often participating in Bible quizzes and often winning, end quote. His father said, quote, he was my first child. My second child is a girl. He was a good and strong child. He dreamed of becoming a soldier. I used to want to become a soldier, but I did not. That's why I wanted him to become a soldier, end quote. Psalm 116, verse 15 says, precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. After a national election over the weekend, Poland will join a growing group of Western nations moving to the right of center, more nationalistic, more supportive of traditional values, and more opposed to the internationalism of the day. A former boxer and historian, Mr. Karol Nawrocki, won the presidential election by a close vote of 50.9% to 49.1%. Nawrocki had been endorsed by President Donald Trump. Nawrocki quoted 2 Chronicles 7:14, stating that God would, quote, heal the land, end quote, if they would, quote, turn away from wicked ways, end quote. The conservative edge in Poland has stood firm against pro-abortion policies and pro-European Union trends over the last 5 years. That will appear to continue with the Nawrocki administration. Poland will join the United States, Argentina, Hungary, and Italy as nations that have moved in a conservative direction over the last few election cycles. President Donald Trump's big, beautiful federal spending bill is heading to the U.S. Senate, but several Republican senators are balking at the price tag, including Senators Rand Paul of Kentucky and Josh Hawley of Missouri, reports Liberty Counsel Action. GOP Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin is proposing that at least $838 billion be cut from federal spending to reduce government expenditures from 23.3% to 20.6% of the gross national income. This would reduce government to the relative size of the economy in 2019, before the COVID crisis. In other words, Senator Johnson is simply requesting that government be reduced to pre-pandemic levels. Presently, the Congressional Budget Office is estimating that President Trump's big, beautiful bill will add another $22 trillion to the $37 trillion of federal debt, putting the U.S. debt at 134% of the gross domestic product by 2035. The leading Keynesian governments in the world are having a hard time getting people to fund their debt. Japan's bond auction yielded the weakest demand since the 2010 recession. The United States bond auction last week was extremely weak, resulting in 30-year bond interest to bump up to 5.15%, the highest rate since 2007. Ukraine dispatched a drone attack into Russia, hitting some key military sites over the weekend. The bombings have reportedly taken out more than 1/3 of Russia's long-range bombers, crippling Russia's nuclear capabilities. The licentious elements of society are celebrating their Pride Month in June. Slate.com reports a reduction in corporate sponsorships of the homosexual transgender pride marches in the U.S. Some have lost 40 to 50% of the corporate monies they have received in previous years. Plus, companies like Comcast, Anheuser-Busch, and Smirnoff have dropped pride sponsorships altogether. The firm Booz Allen Hamilton pulled sponsorships, referring to the president's executive orders, one of which prohibits the U.S. government from contracting with companies that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. The World Pride event is taking place in Washington, D.C. this year, the first time in the United States since the New York City event in 2019. The largest sponsors of the homosexual transgender pride events like World Pride include Hilton, Delta Airlines, Amazon, IKEA, Verizon, Corona, Fresca, and Starbucks. Southwest Airlines, United Airlines, and Kroger are also supporting homosexual events this year. 1 John 2, verses 16 and 17 speaks of lust and pride. It says, "All that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world is passing away, and the lust of it. But he who does the will of God abides forever." Focus on the Family is being targeted by the Southern Poverty Law Center for its opposition to homosexual behavior and gender transition for youths. The leftist group was particularly outraged with Jim Daly's more recent interviews of Rosaria Butterfield and an interview of Walt Heyer and Kathy Grace Duncan. These were Christians who have repented of sins of homosexual behavior and transgenderism. The Southern Poverty Law Center has been notorious for conflating Christian groups with neo-Nazi and racist groups in the United States and promoting persecution of Christians. Other ministries on their list include Family Research Council, Liberty Council, Coral Ridge Ministries, Alliance Defending Freedom, and Generations. A French scientist responsible for the deaths of 50 million babies himself died last week at 98 years of age. Etienne-Emile Ballou was instrumental in the development of the abortion kill pill, RU-486, in 1980. About half of abortions in developed nations have been conducted by the abortion kill pill since the 2010s. Today, chemical abortion accounts for 63% of all abortions in America. The BBC reports that French President Emmanuel Macron called Dr. Ballou, quote, "a beacon of courage and a progressive mind who enabled women to win their freedom," end quote. And finally, toward this week's $30,875 goal to fund the Worldview newscast by this Friday, June 6th, 6 listeners stepped up to the plate. Our thanks to Daniel in San Luis Potosi, Mexico, who gave $5, Kimberly in Sacramento, California, who gave $25, and Deborah in Cosmolis, Washington, who gave $50. We're also grateful to God for Keith and Marcia in Morgan, Colorado, who gave $100, Janita in Bardstown, Kentucky, who gave $250, and Francis in Beacon, New York, who pledged $25 per month for 12 months for a gift of $300. Ready for our total? Drum roll, please. $730. That means by this Friday, we need to raise $30,145. I received an intriguing text from a friend in Michigan. She suggested that I ask if someone would prayerfully consider underwriting half of our entire budget. That would be $61,750. Or perhaps you could cover the $30,145 that we need to raise this week. But alas, if those big dollar amounts are not remotely possible, every $25 and $50 donation gets us incrementally closer to being fully funded. Just go to theworldview.com and click on Give on the top right. I would love to see 20 people make donations on this, our second day. Consider making a monthly pledge by clicking on the Recurring Donation tab. Let's see what the Lord will do as the Worldview in 5 minutes proclaims the truth in a world of pagan-biased news. And that's the Worldview on this Tuesday, June 3rd, in the year of our Lord 2025. Subscribe for free by Spotify, Amazon Music, or by iTunes or email to our unique Christian newscast at theworldview.com. I'm Adam McManus. Seize the day for Jesus Christ.